I hope you're all having a lovely day. It's 11 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. This entire session is being recorded, so you will have access to this after everything's said and done. You can go back and check out the recording. I will put this up on my YouTube channel as well, which is CRM Heidi, so you can just look that up or check out any of my socials. It'll direct you there. So thank you everybody for joining. As you probably have heard by now, since you're here on this webinar, I had prepared this session for Community Summit in Charlotte, which happened last month. Unfortunately, I tested positive for COVID the day before I was supposed to head to Summit, so I missed it. But I spent a lot of time preparing this session and the content, and I really wanted to present it. So thank you for coming to System Admin 101. For anyone that I haven't met before, hi, I'm Heidi Newhauser. I have been working in Microsoft CRM since 2010, so I'm on year 13 now. I am the chair for the Philadelphia Dynamics User Group and Power Platform User Group. So you can come join us there. We are still meeting in a hybrid format, so you can join us from anywhere in the world. Our next meeting is on December 1st, so you can check us out soon. I have a lot of animals. You're going to see them probably in the background and possibly in the foreground at some point in our time together today. 4 cats, a dog, and a cockatiel. I have 2 amazing teenager daughters. They're fantastic. And I love running. I'm also a business applications MVP. A little background as to why I wanted to do this session. I worked on the customer side for the first 5 or 6 years of my CRM career. So I was a system administrator. We had about 250 to 300 users, and I was completely reliant on my partner at the time to make simple configuration changes, which is fine, but I struggled. In 2010, Microsoft documentation was not as fantastic as it is today. So I was pretty much self-taught, and it was kind of frustrating, right? To want to learn more about how to manage my own system without being reliant on somebody else to do it. So ever since then, I've made it like a mission of mine to help empower system administrators to learn what to do. So my goal here today is to introduce you to all of the tools that are available to you as a system administrator so that you can make configuration changes in your own system when you want to. So hopefully that sounds good. And again, let's dive in. This is today's agenda. I got a lot of content in here. I've never done this in like this time format. When I do this, it's like a full day training. It's hands-on. So we're going to see how this goes today. And again, I will be checking in on the chat as much as I can. So if you have questions or thoughts, originally I wanted this to be really interactive. That's like impossible for the electronic format, but we'll try our best. So put questions and anything you want in here. But today we're going to start by talking about user adoption because I can't talk about dynamics without bringing up user adoption. Solution management best practices, because really if you want to understand and use the technology available to you in Power Platform and in Dynamics 365, the cornerstone of what you need is to understand good solution management best practices so you don't accidentally blow up your system. We're going to talk about the Power Platform Admin Center, security model, system views, columns, forms, how to work with relationships, things that you can configure on entity or table of relationships, search, business rules, model-driven apps, Teams, the Dynamics app for Outlook, Sales Copilot, UI, PCF Controls, Power Automate, and a ton of resources for you. I know that's a lot of information. It's going to be too much information, but again, you have this recording when we're done. And hopefully you have my contact information, or you can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or go to crmheidi.com and ask me any questions you have. Again, we're going to try to do this in 90 minutes. Fingers crossed. We'll see how far we get. The idea here is to introduce you to all of these topics. Some of them will do demos. Some of them will, have screenshots. Other things we'll just talk about. But this will get you hopefully excited about the capabilities, because everything here is no code. Everything here you can do as a system administrator. So To get started, I have a question for you. So put your answer in chat here. What is the most important thing about your Dynamics 365 system? In your opinion, completely subjective way to think about this. So I'll give you a minute, sip on my tea while you put in the chat what you think the most important thing is about your dynamic system. And then I'll share what I think it is. Because again, it's unique to what you think. Data integrity. Data. Those are really good answers. I agree. Data is extremely important. What do you think is the most important? Security, governance, being able to bring your organization together on the same sheet of music, simplicity, consistent use. These are wonderful answers. We're going to have a lot of fun on this together. Everyone's in the same mindset. Buy-in from the sales team. Great, great answers. I like all of these. You can keep putting in yours. I'm going to tell you mine. I think your users are the most important thing in the entire system because you can implement the perfect Dynamics 365 system with all the bells and whistles, with all the co-pilots everywhere. But what use is the perfect system if people aren't in there using it? Carla, you nailed it. User adoption. Again, subjectively, that's what I think it is. So, and if you've been to one of my sessions before, I do have to plug user adoption. So when we think about user adoption, it can seem really difficult to quantify and to understand, what does that mean? What can I do to help people use it? Well, I have worked with a lot of organizations, both as a system administrator and as a partner to implement systems. So here's some examples where I think it can go wrong on the left. The idea from management, they have to learn how to do it. It's their job. They will figure it out. They will get on board. I would argue that that is the wrong way to look at user adoption. But I'm guessing a lot of you have seen that. Hopefully not a lot of you have said that. Poor design, too many required fields. The whole thought of Big Brother watching me. What am I doing this for? Is this just to put all my data in for you to see? Changing or overcomplicating business processes. So, in the chat here, a lot of the things that you thought was the most important are strategies to get it right. So involve the end users throughout the project or enhancements that you're rolling out. Use the tech stack to help solve a user problem. Automate manual tasks. Have the users perform your UAT because, you're a system administrator. Everything's going to work for you. Simplify your business processes, build a team of evangelists, and offer ongoing support and training. It's not an exclusive list, but it's just something to get you started. So I hope that's helpful. And you may have seen this before if you've been here, but we're going to take a moment. I know we're on mute and you can't actually say this, but I'm going to trust you that you are going to repeat after me. This is an oath that you will take to help your users. I know I saw a couple of you in the chat who have been to my sessions before, and you have done this, but let's reconfirm your oath to help your users. Ready? So I, Heidi Newhauser, you'll say your name. Yes, thank you, Nick. Feel free to come on camera and prove to me that you're doing this. I, Heidi Newhauser, promise to use configuration over customization whenever I can. Pausing to let people in the lobby. To simplify processes, to automate manual tasks, and always think about changes to CRM or my Power App or whatever you have in terms of my end user groups. Awesome. Do you guys feel good about yourselves? We are dedicated and committed to our users. And everything that we talk about now, not one of these things is going to solve user adoption, but all of these things together can help increase user adoption and joy at your organization. So let's talk about the less exciting part of this, but the most important part, solution management. So a solution, what is a solution? If you are new, welcome. A solution is simply a way to package up your changes and move it from one environment to another. Your solutions can be managed or unmanaged, more on that in a bit. And I thought it would be helpful to think in terms of things you shouldn't do from a best practices standpoint in solution management. I have done all of these things in my past. I do not do any of these things now, not a single one. but I have done them, and they have led to small explosions in systems. So don't do these. Thing number one, don't make changes live in your production environment. I know it's tempting. It takes 5 seconds to do it there. Very quickly, that whole thing steamrolls and your environments are out of whack, and you have created a really difficult thing for yourself. And you might break things in production when you don't intend to, and you can't roll it back because it's production. Thing number two, don't make changes directly in a default solution file. This is harder to do now at the Maker portal, but it's still possible. So don't do it. If you're on-prem, it's easier for you to make those changes in your default solution file, but you're not going to do that. You're going to use solution management. Don't use the new publisher. There's nothing terribly awful about that, but publishers are a unique way that you can tell who's implemented what in your system, and you should simply set yours up. It's very easy to do. I'll show you how. And don't make changes with only you testing them. You have global permissions. Everything's going to work. I have done this several times in my past where I beta tested it and then I sent it off to the team sure that it was going to work, but I don't have the same permission levels. So you aren't going to do any of those things. You are going to do all of these things. Thing number one, please use at least 2 environments. They're free. You don't have to pay any additional money to have a sandbox. A sandbox is where you're going to perform your changes, to test your enhancements, to test everything, make sure it's working, and your production. So minimally 2 environments. Feel free to add in the comments here in the chat how many environments you're using today. A lot of people will use 3, but please use at least 2. And if any of you are using 1, that's okay, but you can use 2. Great point in the chat here from Jim. It's free, but storage is not. That is a very, very good point. If storage is a concern, I would recommend having your sandbox be configuration only and not data. That will save you a lot in your storage. Best practice 2, set up a prefix or publisher for your own changes. 3, in your solution file, you're not going to include all of your components or metadata unless you need them. Nick, 8 environments. That's a lot of environments. I would be interested to learn how you keep all of those in sync. Come up with a naming convention for workflows, flows, business rules, everything else. This is just going to make your life as a system admin easier, especially if you have a team of people working to manage your CRM system. And have your users test and verify changes. So I told you we were going to talk about this, managed versus unmanaged. Managed solution means it can be uninstalled after it's imported. Once it's deleted, all of your components will be deleted. Unmanaged solution, importing an unmanaged solution will add all solution components to your default solution, which means you will be unable to delete that by simply uninstalling the solution. This will overwrite all customizations. So that's my simplest way to differentiate what the 2 are. Microsoft says as a best practice, you should use managed solutions to move changes from sandbox to production and use unmanaged solutions while you're still developing. It's totally up to you. You are welcome to talk about it in the chat here. I'm not going to spend terribly much time. So I have at the bottom, the debate continues amongst Dynamics 365 admins and MVPs for that matter. It's always a fun conversation. So I see a question here from Joy. Any suggestions on the naming conventions? It's a really good question. I like to put the table name first and then a short description of what it's going to do. Very, very simple, but it allows you to organize it really simply and see what they are. But it really comes down to what you want. So I'm hoping we can demo. I always have this make a small sacrifice to the live demo gods. What's really interesting is that I saw there's like an outage right now in Power Apps and Power Automate, and they're fixing it and it's slowing down. Hopefully it doesn't impact us. We are at make.powerapps.com. This is where you're going to go to make your solution files. It looks like this, and along the left-hand side, let me zoom in. You've got Home, Create, Learn, which goes to Microsoft Learn, Apps, all of the apps in your environment, your flows, your solutions, your tables, and more. If you come to more, there's this new thing where you can pin things. This rolled out a couple weeks ago. It's pretty neat. So if you're using chatbots, just click that pin and now chatbots shows up here. If you don't want something there, take it away and then it goes away. So that's a fun little thing that showed up recently. But we're going to click on solutions. And here's a list of my solution files. Another thing that rolled out this week is a totally new thing here. Oh, thank you. The outage was fixed. Good stuff. We have unmanaged button at the top, managed right here. So These managed solutions, you'll see, are all coming from Microsoft. Also, at the very top, you'll select which environment you're in. I'm in a trial demo environment. So let's come back and we're going to build an unmanaged because this is my sandbox. And at the very top, you're going to click New Solution. There's only a couple fields here that are required. We do a display name, test solution, file, or fun. Feeling very creative today. And publisher. I've already set one up here called CRM Heidi, but it's really simple. You're going to click New Publisher if you haven't done that. I just wanted to save a couple clicks. And then Create. And all this is doing is it's making a blank folder. So once I've done this, I'm able to add the different components, the different pieces of my system that I'm going to want to work on, either add new things or edit existing. So we will let this kind of pre-populate. I just wanted to show you a real quick demo there of how to create a solution file. We're going to use that in future pieces. Oh, one other thing I want to show you is how to toggle to a classic solution designer. I should have asked before we dove in here. Do me a favor, use the React button here and give me a thumbs up if you are using Dynamics on premise and a heart if you're using Dynamics online, just so I understand what we're dealing with here. Lots of hearts, couple thumbs. Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I would have made you like raise your hand if we were in person. That's okay. Okay, so all of you are going to need to toggle to Classic Solution Designer because there are still some things that can't be done at make.powerapps.com. There's a new change where, oh good, we're loaded up here. There's a new change where that might be hidden. So email me. Nick put my email address in the beginning of the chat, heidi@reenhance.com, if you don't know how to add this back on. But let's come over to our solution file here. And I'm going to open up System Admin 101. Oh, maybe I don't have it. Never mind. I need to add this setting to my trial environment. But there's a button there that shows you how to switch to Classic, and I will show you that later on, hopefully. But in the interest of time, let's move on to another cool thing, which is the Power Platform Admin Center. So that is over here. We've got admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. I will throw this in the chat. And I see Amanda's in the midst of a migration from on-prem to cloud. Ooh, that's always a fun one. I hope it's going well. It never goes as cleanly as you think it will, but you will get there in the end, my friend. All right, so I want to show you where you will actually access the Power Platform Admin Center. So we are here. You're going to go to Environments, and this is going to show you every environment you have in your organization. So we are looking at Sales Trial. Now, I'm sure you've noticed by now, Microsoft likes to offer 2, 3, sometimes 4 or more ways of doing the exact same thing. So there are 2 ways that I can show you how to do this. Highlight the environment and click Settings, or click on the name of the environment and click Settings. It all does the same thing. So when you go to settings of your environment, remember this is environment only. So you would do this in your sandbox and in your production and in whatever environments you're working on. And there's a lot of things you can configure here, like a lot of things you can configure. Let me show you the summary here of what you have. So some things you can do, you can set up duplicate detection rules. You can configure your fiscal year settings, date and currency formatting. You can set up your queues in order to route your data quickly and efficiently. You can manage your goals, goal metrics. You can add or remove languages and a whole lot more. So these are the different areas, and I'll show you some of that again. Product, business, your users and permissions. Those are things like security roles, audits and logs, templates, email settings. So if you're setting up your email server and you're configuring your mailboxes to turn on things that you'll need to do for the Dynamics app for Outlook, you do it there. Integration, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things there when we get to our Teams integration and the Dynamics app for Outlook and even Sales Copilot, data management, encryption, and resources. So before we move off of that, some of the things that you might want to take a look at are in this product area. So behavior has a lot of things like autosave is a big one. Some people love it or they hate it. If you want your records to autosave, that's a simple toggle to on. Tons of stuff that you can configure. Show legacy app, you're not going to do that because that's gone. But do you have any questions, or is there anything specific anybody wants to see in the Power Platform Admin Center? If not, I was planning on just showing you this, but there are really, really important things here that eventually you're going to want to take a look at, possibly in the features area here. So if you're using Copilot, this is where you can manage some of the Copilot things, AI Builder, Power BI visualization embedding. Jessica's asking, why wouldn't you want autosave? I've worked with some clients that hate autosave. They want their people to click the save button. I don't know why. But people definitely wanted that off. Rebecca says not all the Copilot settings are there. Absolutely right. We're going to talk about that one later. A lot of the Copilot settings are in the app itself. Megan's asking, can you pull an audit report of the last time someone created or modified a record? Auditing doesn't really work that way. It's not like a queryable table. I don't know a good way to do that. If anybody else does, feel free to put that into the chat there. All right, cool. One other fun little thing, if you're into like user adoption and guided help panes and all of that cool stuff, check out the help features area here. So custom help for customizable entities. By default, that's taking you to like a Microsoft Learn thing, but you can update that here. So I could put like crmheidi.com, and then anytime my users click the question mark, it'll take me to that URL instead, which is really handy because if you have like a SharePoint library or a YouTube library of short training videos, you can toss it in there, which is neat. All right, let me just check our chat because we got some cool things. In the behavior section, there's a toggle to enable classic editor. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. It's fantastic. All right. Thank you all for the awesome tips here and questions. We are going to talk about security model. This is another important building block. I promise you we're going to get to like the sexy CRM stuff, but this stuff we have to get through first. All right, so your security model is made up of a lot of different things. We've got business units, security roles, teams, and field security profiles. Some of these are like 201 level security model stuff, but let's start with business units. This is the foundation of your security model. This is the way to control access to data. So some people want their data to be open. I want everyone in my organization to see everything, to edit everything. Great. You just need your one root business unit, which gets created by default when you start with Dynamics 365 or Power Apps. However, if you want to segment your data, a good example here, simple example here, your organization does business internationally and in North America. Your international business units need to see one section of data, and your North America needs to see different. They will never cross. No one in international should ever see a company that belongs in North America and vice versa. If that's the scenario you want, the illustration here is exactly how you would implement it. You can also have additional levels depending on how granular you are. Again, this is what you would use to implement if you want to control full access to data. Everyone in that root business unit sees everything. So that's thing number one. Thing number two are security roles. So you want to take that a step further. We can talk about record level permissions and task-based privileges. So what I'm showing you here is legacy UI because there's a new version. It's in preview though, so I don't know that you would use it in production, but the lovely little bubbles here you will use. So there's read permission, which means if you have a green bubble here, that means you'll be able to see that record type. Create, you'll be able to add a new record. Delete, user will be able to delete it. One of the first things that I do is remove delete permissions for all my users because there's no undo and delete, right? Delete is scary. So you as a system admin have delete permissions. If you take that away, your users will be able to disable records but not fully delete them, which I'd say is in general a best practice. You'll know if that's not a good fit for you. But if you want to delete everything, click the delete heading at the top and it will remove all of the bubbles from that instead of you having to go through them one by one. Write means you can make a change to a record. Assign, you can assign that record to someone else. The kind of tricky ones, append and append to. When in doubt, give permissions to both. Append means user can attach another record. So the example that I gave to hopefully make this more clear, a note can be attached to an opportunity if the user has append rights on a note. Append to means related records can be added. So the example there would be a note is permitted to be added on an opportunity. So if you're not sure, which oftentimes I get confused, just give both, and that's okay. So there are many different areas of tabs across the top. Go through all of them. Make sure you check out the Custom Entities tab if you've added custom tables. And then at the bottom of some of these, you have your task-based privileges. This is where you can add or remove the ability to export to Excel, do mail merge, all kinds of cool things like that. Now, like I said, there's a newer version. It's called Modern Security Roles. As of last week, this was still in preview. I didn't check this week, but this would be setting members privilege inheritance. It would be team or direct basic access and team. So this is a screenshot of what it looks like from Microsoft documentation. We've got a great question from Jim. Why are so many system tables listed on custom tab? Anything new that gets added, they just throw on the custom tab. It's frustrating, which I think is why we have modern, because these security roles haven't changed since I started working with Dynamics, which was in CRM 4.0 in 2010. It's still the same way. But then the configure privileges are at the table level. It seems a lot easier to manage versus all of the bubbles. So I'm excited for that to come out. The next level up is teams. So sometimes, many times, you want an individual person to own it, and you want a team. Maybe it's not enough for just Jim to own all of the accounts in Pennsylvania. I need Jim and Nick and Joy to own all of the records in Pennsylvania because they work together as a team. They're the inside sales, the outside sales, and I don't know who else. So an owner team would be a group of people that would own records and have security roles assigned to that team. Team members are added manually, so you can change them. So if all of a sudden Jim gets a promotion, he's now our manager, we can just remove Jim from that owner team and add whoever his replacement is. Access teams are a completely different game. I've only ever implemented access teams once, and to be honest, it didn't work very well. I'm not a huge fan of access teams. If anyone is, and you have a great use case for access teams, put them in the chat here. Access teams don't own records, so you don't have an owner of your records. It's very, very different. There are no security roles assigned to any team. They vary based on the record itself. So X, Y, and Z company currently is run by Megan and Mohammed and Yodi. Then the other ones are owned by a totally different group of people. So that's used when your team members are changing very, very often. But again, you wouldn't have any security roles assigned to that team. That makes sense. Clear as mud, right? All right, so the next, I'd say, level 201 for your security model would be field security profiles. Oh, I'm going to answer this question that just came up from Megan because it's about the teams. If you have an owner team, would the record show it was owned by Pennsylvania team or individual? Great question, Megan. It would say Pennsylvania team. And then if you click on Pennsylvania team, it's going to show you all of the members of that team. Great question, though. All right, so field security profile. This is a slightly more advanced thing in your security toolkit, but it's really cool. It would allow you to lock down an individual field level, things to be able to see the data, to create the data, and update the data. So this becomes really interesting, right? If you are storing sensitive information like a social security number on a contact record, and you don't want that to be visible by a certain group of people, you can hide it so it just shows across the stars by adding a field security profile and then field permissions to that specific field. Then it will just say who can read the data, who can add data, and who can update data. So to do this, it's in the legacy area of your settings. You can get here from the Power Platform Admin Center. Screenshot here is showing once you've gone into the legacy area there. You would click Field Security Profiles. You would then add the people. So who is in this profile? You could name it like this one I named Inside Sales. So anyone that gets added to this team would have restrictions on specific fields and what they're able to add and update. All right, Any questions on security model? Again, the idea here is to introduce the topics, not make you experts on everything yet, but the things that resonate with you, the things that you like, that you want to learn more about, there's a plethora of information. And again, I'll give you some of those resources at the end where you can ask me questions here. The next thing I want to go through are system views and columns and forms. So we're getting to the more fun stuff. So the two things I want to talk about are editing existing views and creating new views. Yeah, I think that's all I had because we're going to just demo these. So let's come back here. Oh, this is the wrong one. I was playing around with new Copilot, which you probably have heard of, was announced at Ignite yesterday that our virtual agents are now Copilots. So I was adding a Copilot. All right, here's our solution file. Remember, a solution file is simply a bucket that we're going to add changes. And I want to show you how to both add existing and create new. We're in the solution file. I'm going to click Add Existing at the top. And this is when I want to take something that's already in my CRM system and I want to make changes to it. So Add Existing, already existing stuff. First thing I want to do if we're talking about a view is add the table. If you're older on-premise, a table is an entity. I think we know this, but just in case anyone's less clear about it or new to the space. So let's say we want to add account, and I can use the search up here if I want to find other ones. So let's do opportunity and click next. So I've added the account table and the opportunity table. Remember I said best practices don't include all objects or metadata unless you need it. So don't click these buttons unless you need it. Just take the small objects you need. And we do that by using this select objects area. And we have columns, which are your fields. So this is every field on that account table if I want to make a change to an option set. We've got relationships. We'll talk about that later. Business rules, we'll also talk about later. Views, which is what we're talking about now. So let's grab active accounts and click add. You also have forms, which we'll talk about later. Dashboards, charts, messages, keys, and commands. So let's come over to the opportunity area and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to grab a view and let's do my open opportunities. We'll click add and then add. And that is just adding those assets into our solution file, which means then we can make changes and edit. And eventually when we test and verify that everything looks awesome in our sandbox, we can promote that over to production. Now, remember I told you can do things like 3, 4, or 5 different ways. I'm going to show you the way that I like. You can click the name here, account opportunity, and manage it that way. I like to click these little drop-down carrots and then select from here. Again, there's just so many ways to do it. Click on the name of the view that you want to edit. There we go. And this is our canvas. This looks a little funky because I'm zoomed in. Normally you'd see more columns here across, but I want to stay zoomed in. So the table columns are all the way down the left here. And this is each individual field that is not currently showing up here. I have my topic, my potential customer. You can see exactly what it's going to look like. So potential C ... I don't like that. So I'm going to click and drag this so my users can see what that full label is, potential customer, which is pretty cool. Cool thing number one you can do in this interface. You can click and drag these things and just make it exactly as you want. So let's scroll over and let's say I want to change something. Here's my rating. If I want to sort that A through Z, I just click on the caret next to rating and I just change it. And now that's changing the entire sort and configuration for every user on that view from cold to hot, which actually makes no sense. We'd want hot leads first. Let's do hot to cold. Then other things you can do, you can change the name of the view, you can add a description, and you can change your filter. So the filter is the query that's behind the view. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I'm going a little fast because I'm trying to get through all of our information here. But this will show you that this view is looking for any opportunity where the owner is me and the status is open. If I want to change that at all, click Edit Filters, and then you can tweak the query here. I can change any of these. I can add something, so I can add a row. If you're going to work in here, this is the same interface as your advanced find querying. It's super logical. It's like math class. If this and that, then this. So anything that I put in here It's going to have to meet all of the criteria. So let's say estimated close date. This center thing will be different based on the data type of the field you select in your query. So since this is a date field, I get some really cool things here that are date. Let's say I want any of my opportunities that are open, which are closing this. No, I meant to do this month. This month. Let's click OK. So now I've made a new view, right? My open opportunities closing this month. I can click Save As. I want to save because that overwrites my existing one. Click Save, and then that's going to add that new system view. System view means everyone in my system can see that, not just me. So we kind of combined both there. Now, my little time-saving cheat is if you're going to build a new system view, I would always start with an existing one like this because I didn't have to add all of these. Let me go back since we've added a new one. There's my new one. If the other way you can do that is click New View, and then you have to go through this whole wizard. So open opportunity, let's do opportunity, closing, next, and click Create. So I'll show you the other way, which requires more work on your part and more things. It just pulls in the topic. So you could grab whatever fields you want, click and drag them, or just click them, and it's going to drop them in there for you. And once you're done, you would save and publish. Isn't my way quicker? I just like to find something that already has. I like to do as little clicks as I have to, which I think a lot of people do. It's like user adoption for the system administrators, right? Cool. So new view at the top or add existing view. You can always come back and add more. If you want to take something away, like, oh no, I don't actually need to work on my open opportunities. Adding my open opportunities due next week is what I wanted. I can click the 3 buttons here, go to remove, and remove from solution. Very important though. See this one underneath it? It says delete from this environment. That means it's gone, no undo. So remove from this solution, I take it out of my folder. This isn't a part of the changes I'm doing. Delete from environment, which you see I can't do because this is in a managed solution file, which you can't take away. That would delete it from the entire Dataverse, which is bad. We don't want to do that. All right. Let me check the questions. Scott, when does it make sense to include table metadata? Metadata is like all of the background stuff that makes it work. So I'd say if you are doing configuration changes, which is kind of what we're talking about today, out of the box, no code stuff, you wouldn't need to add metadata. That would be when you want to start enhancing it using some out of the box or not out of the box tooling. I bet you, Nick, would you mind putting some use cases in there while I kind of move on? Nick does this stuff, so he can give you some more info. And anybody else, you're welcome to chime in too. Okay. Oh, I went too far. Columns. We're going to talk about columns next. Again, columns are fields. There are many data types of columns. I pulled this again last week to just make sure nothing changed, but things change in here a lot. So you might see new data types that didn't exist before. You might see some leave that weren't there before. But all of our categories here are text, but within text, there's so many kinds of text fields. There's plain text, rich text, email, phone, URL, multi-line. Then there's the number section, which has whole number, decimal number, float, language code, duration, and time zone, date and time. You can choose between, do you want date and time or just date? Lookup is looking up to another table, another area in Dynamics. Choice field, it's a drop down or yes, no, or choices. Choices with an S is multi-select option set. There are some limitations to that field type. So if you're interested in choices, just do a little homework and understand what you can't do by creating a choices. We've got currency fields, auto number, which is an out-of-the-box field. Back in the day, well, actually, just a couple years ago, you had to use JavaScript to create auto number. Now it's a field type that you can configure on your own. There's a file, and there's formula, which is PowerFX. It's preview. I don't think that's general availability yet. Important things that I want to point out. Again, I like to point out the tiny little wins in user adoption. If you see right underneath the display name of this field, favorite ice cream, there's a description box. Now, whatever you put in this description box is going to show up for your users when they hover over that name. So it's a little tooltip. It's just letting them know what that field is. So if there's any confusion, you can pop it in there. And finally, you would set your requirement level. It's either required, not required, or suggested. So lots of cool things with columns. More on these 2 column types, because I think they're really cool: calculated fields and roll-up fields. A calculated field is something that you can create automatically to automate your manual calculations. So there are some in your system today. Full name. Full name is a calculated field that takes first name and combines it with last name. Net worth is assets minus liabilities on an account. You can create them however you want. If there's a calculation, you can build it. Roll-up fields are used to aggregate. So similar to using sum, min, max, and count in Excel. A few examples that I've implemented: I want a roll-up of all open opportunities as the number on the account field. Then I can use that in a system view. I want a total of all open cases that are linked to an account. They're really cool when you combine them with other things. So calculated fields, we're going to talk about calculated fields for a minute, and we're going to talk about roll-up fields. Jim, you asked a question I don't know the answer to. Can the description be translated? I would assume so, because when you have translation turned on, it translates everything, but I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to look up that and get back to you because I'm curious now. Calculated fields, they're not available on all field types. These are the ones that do support calculations. Text fields, choice fields, yes, no, whole number, decimal number, currency, and date and time. So here's a scenario and a screenshot. If you want to learn more, I have blogs on CRM Heidi if you want to check them out that talk more about calculated fields, but it takes too long for a 90-minute crash class for it. So scenario here, the business scenario: if an opportunity has been rated 4 or 5 stars and estimated revenue is greater than or equal to $5,000, I would like an activity due in 7 days. Otherwise, I want the activity due to be in 1 month. So this is what it looks like when you create it. Pretty cool, right? And it's all out-of-the-box configuration that you can do with nothing other than System Administrator or System Customizer security roles. Here's a roll-up field. Roll-ups can aggregate using any of these functions: sum, count, min, max, or average. You can use a calculated column or field on your roll-up. Calculations will run asynchronously in the background by scheduled system jobs. That means they only happen once a day. You can manually update them on the form though. So this is a roll-up example. The screenshot at the bottom, I know it's tiny, but the highlighted area there is showing you the calculation, which is one of the use cases I had pointed out on the prior slide: a count of open opportunities for that account. And that little blue box says recalculate. It also has a date and time stamp just above it, where it will tell you when it last ran that calculation. If I, as the user, will click that recalculate button, it will do it in real time, and then you'll see the actual number. The scenario here, again, count of all opportunities is going to be listed, and on the right-hand side is actually how you create that roll-up field. Forms. Let's talk about forms for a minute. I think most people are very familiar with main forms, but there are 4 form types. So main form will give you main user interface for interacting with the data. So there's a little screenshot of the account right there. A quick create form can be really useful. It's a basic form with just what you determine are the most important fields for a user to quickly give you enough information that you can create that account record or that table record, and then they can go on and manage it later. Quick view is a really cool card. There's a screenshot here showing you the primary contact on an account. That's a good example of a quick view where it will display additional data for a related record right on that form. So in this example, it's showing you the email address and the business phone number for that person on the account form. And then the card that gives you the availability to present information in a very compact format that displays well on a mobile device. However, everything is responsive design now. I don't know if they're going to phase out cards. That was more important when we were using mobile apps and configuring differently for mobile apps. Form Designer, I will show you this. So we have the components area, the table columns, the tree view, and form libraries. All of these things are really cool. We're not going to touch form libraries because that's where JavaScript and web resources will go, which is part of your metadata that we were talking about before. So let's toggle back over here. Again, I like this thing on the left. You can use it on the top. I'm going to go to Account, and I'm going to click Forms. We didn't add any forms yet. So here's New Form. You can say what type of form you want, but I want to add Existing, and that's going to drop me right to Forms. Really like the shortcut versions where it'll just take me right where I need to go. I can sort this by form type if I'm looking for main. There's a lot of main forms in here, so you can pick the correct one, click Add. And then we have added that to our solution file. I'm going to click the name of that form, and that's going to take us to our form canvas. I'm going to scroll back out so you can see what it actually looks like, because I feel like you're getting a distorted view of this. All right, so while this loads, here's our navigation. If I click on the 3 lines, the little, I don't even know what they call it anymore, the hamburger icon, is that still a hamburger icon? It shows you what they are. Components here, if you're building your form, you want to add tabs, sections, subgrids, spacers. We're going to talk a little bit later about some of the different field controls that we can add here. But this is where you would add those things. So if I needed a new tab, I could just click and drag it wherever I wanted to land. Also, this is a demo, so it pulled in things that I'm not using, right? I'm not using field service, so I can click on this whole tab. And let's say I just want to delete that. I can simply hit delete and it goes away. Yay. So you can clean up your forms because everyone gets stuff you're not going to use. It's what Microsoft thinks you will use. Not all of these things are super useful for every organization. So just come in, clean up your form, add what you want. You can come into table columns, and there's this handy checkbox. It's checked by default. It says show only unused table columns. So it won't show you anything that is already on your form, so you don't end up with it there twice. But you can come in and add any fields that you're missing. If I want to throw category, just drag and drop it where you want. Within the form itself, there are some cool things you can do. If you click on the field, you can hide the label. You can hide it on the phone and just have it available on the web. You can hide it, lock it, make it read-only, lots of neat things. And I'm going to show you later about how to use the components. But that's a very quick overview of the kind of stuff. And tree view is just going to show you a tree view of everything you have. It's got your tabs separated. It's got your header called out in your footer. There's your form libraries. Again, we're not using these. Those are JavaScript fun, and business rules that we will talk about later. All right. We're moving on to relationships. Relationships are important and relationships are hard sometimes. There are 3 different types of table relationships, one-to-N, N-to-1, and N-to-N. One-to-N example is one account has many contacts. N-to-1 example, many activities are on one opportunity. N-to-N example, marketing list. Many contacts are on one list and one contact can be on many lists. So those are the 3 types of table or entity relationships that you will have. Power Apps has limited functionality. So make.powerapps.com will only show you a couple things. You can change your system behavior, and that's about it. You're going to have to switch to Classic for your full features. When you switch to Classic, it looks like the screenshot on the right-hand side. And what I am most excited about here is configuring field mapping. Field mapping, I've said this many times before, I think is one of the most underutilized tools by system administrators. This is only available on 1-to-N or N-to-1 relationships between tables, so you can't do it with N-to-N. And what it will do, it will take a value from one table and push it to another. It's so cool. So an example like this is when you qualify a lead to an opportunity, you know, there's all these fields that automatically show up on your opportunity. How did they get there? Field mapping. You have out-of-the-box field mapping on these, and you can configure your own fields to be a part of field mapping. So on the relationship, the top screenshot here, you would click on mappings, which I have highlighted on the left. When you do that, it pops up this window that says create a field mapping on these 2 tables. So remember, it's specific to the relationship that you've picked here. So here are all of the fields for the lead on the left, all of the fields for the opportunity on the right. Tell me how they match. And in this example, what I'm doing is I'm taking the lead type that my team has selected on the lead, and I'm going to push that to the opportunity type on my opportunity, because we don't like our users having to enter the same data on a new table. So you can set up field mapping, which unfortunately that's the only slide I had of that. I love this tool. Please feel free to reach out if you want to learn more about this. There are some rules in field mapping. For example, it has to be the same field type. So when we talked about selecting your column type a few minutes ago, that's essential. You can't change your column type with a few exceptions. So once you've created that type, you can only map it to the same type. If you have a text field, there are some rules about the length. Your target field has to be shorter than your source field or the same. But again, I have some blogs about that if you want to learn more. Next, we have search. Let me just check our chat real quick. So Jeff is asking, can you show something on the phone but not on the web? You sure can, Jeff. There are some cool things that we can do. Create different forms and have different forms on different model-driven apps to kind of control some of that. So business card scanning. Oh, the business card scanning thing is a really cool control that's out of the box in Power Apps. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Joy, sometimes when I drag and drop, it doesn't show up. I end up adding it multiple times. Eventually I have to go back and remove the extras. Any reason for that? I wish they had a better interface, Joy. I know what you mean. Like, I put category here. Well, that's not where I wanted it. Now I'm going to put it here. Make sure that you have that box checked to show only unused table columns, because I won't find category here if that's checked, because I did put it here even though it's in the wrong space. But as far as like changing it, like you can go to the tabs, and then sometimes it's awesome and it is just fabulous and drops it where you want, and other times I'm with you. It makes me feel like I'm a toddler and I can't figure out how to drag and drop something on screen. So any reason for that? I'm really sorry to say that. User error. For me, for you, for lots of people, right? Okay, let's move on to search. And for search, I'm going to talk about two things. We're going to start with global search. I want to teach you how to add and remove different tables or entities from global search, and how to change the fields that are searched and the display in global search. So this is something that's done in the switch to classic area, which I actually have to update this for the Power Platform Admin Center. But you go to Settings and Administration, then you've got the System Settings tab. I think you might have to go to Old Classic to be able to do this, actually. I don't know that this will work in the Power Platform Admin Center. So once you see this screenshot at the bottom, your system settings, it's in this general tab, and you're going to scroll down about halfway. You'll see this highlighted area that says Set Up Search, and it says Select Entities for Categorized Search, and it just has the Select button. It's just weird, but this is what you need to do to add or remove tables from your global search. By default, obviously, none of your custom tables are going to be there. You probably have created custom tables, and you've probably created them because they're critical for your business and you want them to work with global search. So make sure you go here and you add your custom tables. Also, there are what I would say some useless tables that are included by default in global search, like users. Do you need to search your users? Probably not. So you'd want to take them out of there. So that's how to add or remove tables from global search. Cooler, change fields. So there are 3 fields that are going to be shown in the global search results screen. That is controlled by the quick find view. It's very simple. The first 3 columns are the ones that will be displayed in that order. So pick the 3 fields that you want the most, and you are going to configure that. I'm going to leave here. Let's go. I want to show you how to do this because I think it's really cool. So we are going to views, add existing view, and I like to sort it this way to very quickly find it. Here's my quick find view. Click add. And then we're going to open this up. And again, the 3 data points that are going to be displayed are the account name, the account number, and the primary contact right now, which probably isn't what I want. Like, account number doesn't matter. Maybe I want the phone number. So account name, the phone number, and the primary contact. Those are probably better. Click Save and Publish when you're done. Now, I'm going to skip our next slide because we're already here and I want to show you, but you're find by, so you're going to see those 3 data points for account, but you want to be able to search by more things. So down on the bottom right-hand corner is find by. That means if my user enters data in global search, these are the fields that will be searched and display my results. So right now it's account name, account number, email, main phone, other phone. So I can click Edit Find Table, and then I can come in here and add whatever else I want to be supported in that. So let's add these other phone fields, for example. Click Apply, and then again, Save and Publish. And now you've added those different fields to be queryable in your global search. So that's what we just did. Boom. Isn't that cool? We have a question. Mayella. For field mapping, will the value update when it's, oh, that's a great question. The field mapping, will the value update when it is updated in the original record? Will it? I should know the answer to this without a doubt. And I was going to say yes, but then I doubted myself. I think so. I don't want to lie to you. So I think so, and I will verify and get back to you. That's the second one I owe. Jim, I'm going to get to you for the one, and Mayela, I will get back to you on that one. Nick says he doesn't think so. All right, we'll do some homework. I just need to test some things out. Talk about business rules. Oh gosh, time is flying. We're going to run out of time. No more demos. Business rules, drag and drop functionality. You can apply form logic without JavaScript or plugins. Yay! They're really simple to configure. They run in real time. A lot of people use set visibility, and that's like the big win, and set business required, but there are so many cool other things. So let's talk for a second about how business rules and custom code play together. They don't. Don't do it. A business rule should not be used on a form that also uses custom code. So if you need custom code for whatever reason on a form, you will not use business rules on that form. Just have the custom code perform that action. Ask me how I found that out. You don't want them together. So business rule examples. Set required is really neat. These are all very logical as well. So we have a condition here in the purple. You're going to configure your condition. In this, I'm saying I want to check if this lead is commercial or industrial. If it is, I want to set all of these business related fields to required, like SIC code and business phone. If it's a residential lead, I don't need that. So we're not going to set that as required. So that's a nice way to reduce the number of required fields on your form and only make them required when they need to be. This is a very tiny example at the top that you can't even see. I'm going to make a new slide because it's not very good. But this is set visibility. Same example. If my lead is residential, hide all of those company fields. I don't need them. So this runs in real time. As soon as that condition is met, my lead is residential, it hides all of those. If I switch it back, it will revert and show them because I have my negative path there, which is super cool, right? Next one, show error message. This one is so cool. I just started using this one more because I think it's really neat. So my example here, if my opportunity probability is greater than or equal to 75%, my estimated close date has a value, but estimated revenue is blank, show an error message. And you configure the error message. So this says when your opportunity probability is greater than 75 and your close date is within 90 days, you must add estimated revenue. And now at this point, and only at this point, is estimated revenue a required field that my user has to enter. Add recommendation, my second favorite. If the account country is USA, I would like to recommend to set shipping as USPS or US Postal Service, UPS. I can read. So you can figure this. Again, if condition country equals USA, I want to recommend this. Now, isn't this cool? It's prompting my user and says, hey, this account's in the USA. Usually we do this as our shipping method. Do you want to do that? My user clicks apply and it does that. So neat, right? And this is all stuff you can do without any code. Model-driven apps. Oh my gosh, I have 30 minutes to get through the rest of this. We're going to do this. Is this fun? Are we having a good time? Model-driven apps are amazing. I'm going to push play on this. Right here, this screenshot here, this little GIF that I created, this is showing you the out-of-the-box sales hub. Look at all those areas. Look at all those system views. Lots of system views are powering charts and dashboards and lots of things like that. This is cumbersome. Whoa, look at this. Now we have a streamlined app that only shows me the few things I need. Not only that, when I click on the system views here, it's showing me like 3 views that I actually need to do my job. I think this is the #1 tool you can implement to increase user adoption because you're taking away all of that extra noise. You're simplifying their user experience, and you're only showing the necessary information. Also, did you see how it went to crmheidi.com? That was me configuring the custom help there. So there's a URL there that tells you, takes you to help, and the video library takes you to my YouTube channel. So there's really cool things that you can do within model-driven apps. A couple tips and tricks. This is building the model-driven app, which, we've been looking at a bit. A new page in a model-driven app can be a Dataverse table, any table, an out-of-the-box one, a custom one that you've added. It could be a dashboard. It could be a URL. I put this in bold and put exclamation points because this is new-ish. This is new as of days before Summit started. So it's like a month old now, but this used to be something that you'd have to toggle over to your classic designer that now you can do right in your model-driven app builder. You can add web resources like pictures. You can add custom pages with your Canvas app. So if you're playing around with Canvas apps and you have created a really dynamite Canvas app and you're thinking, wow, this could really extend my CRM system, you can drop it in as a page now. It's absolutely incredible. Then you can use your pages area to limit the forms and views visible on an app. Again, that is a must do if you're going to start using model-driven apps. There's some cool settings that you can take a look at. So in the general area, once you're in the app settings, you can update your app name, the description, and an icon. So if your users are going to leverage multiple model-driven apps, that can be really handy to just have an icon so they can really visually easily identify which app is which. The features area, which is in this screenshot here, has some really neat things. You can turn on in-app notifications. My gosh, those are cool. You can enable Power BI quick report visualization on a table. Whoa, you can just click a button and then see a Power BI dashboard that represents that data. And then it's always really cool to check out what's upcoming here. These are early access features that you can test drive in your model-driven app. I'm going to take just a hot second to show you something in model-driven apps. Yes, you can leave. I don't need that. If this takes more than a few seconds, I'm going to abort. But I know I have a model-driven app here that I created. All right, let's go to the Sales Hub. And I think it's really important to understand where you would go to restrict some of the views that are displayed. So if this loads, this is the Sales Hub. This is the one with way too much stuff in it, way too much noise. My users don't need to see everything. All right, so here we are in the pages area. So this is my canvas, and I just wanted to use one that already exists to make it easy. You can see we have leads here, so I can click on leads view, and now it's going to update on the right-hand panel. It's going to show me every view in my Dataverse, which is not what I want. This is what my users see when they come into leads. That's a lot, and a lot of it exists because it's powering charts that are powering dashboards. So to remove these, if I don't need campaign leads, I'm going to click the ellipses and remove. All that did was take it out of the app. And then I would continue this. I wish you could do them in bulk, but I'm sorry, you can't. But you would just continue that. And then as you make that list shorter, you're really enhancing your users' ability to do what they need faster with less clicks. So I hope that was helpful. Now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Dynamics app for Outlook, Teams, and Sales Copilot. How do they work together? Which should I use in which scenario? Well, it depends on a lot of things. First, I'm going to show you where you're going to configure all these things. Welcome back to the Power Platform Admin Center. Within the environment itself, on the right-hand side, this is done at integration. There's the Teams integration settings here, which opens up this window, which is your Microsoft Teams collaboration and chat settings. So this will call out right away some security level requirements for some items. You as a system administrator might not have all the permissions you need. Some of these do require an Office 365 admin, and one of them requires a tenant admin permission level. So you can see who you need to ping to get some help to turn these on. But things that you can do here, you can link Dynamics 365 to Teams channels. That's pretty cool. That extends your Dynamics into Teams for people that are using Teams and not using Dynamics. There are some licensing things that we could talk about, but that's not fun to talk about. You can view Dynamics information in Teams without a license this way. You just can't edit it if you don't have a Dynamics license. Cooler thing you can do, turn on Teams chat inside of Dynamics. Collaborate with Teams users that aren't Dynamics users while you're in Dynamics. Collaborate with other Dynamics licensed users and work on records at the same time, leveraging Teams chat as well. It's really cool. And you can turn on enhanced Teams integration. So that has even more things. And you can even turn on confidential labels that are going to create private teams, add sensitivity, confidentiality labels within all of it. There's a lot you can do in Teams integration, and it keeps getting cooler. The whole idea here is it shouldn't matter where you are. You can still consume data in whatever area you're at. Nate's got a question. Any difference from Sales Copilot with deal rooms / account teams in Teams? I haven't looked at the Sales Copilot in Teams terribly much, but yeah, it's completely different. It's a game changer. I have the Sales Copilot running on this meeting. So what that's doing, Sales Copilot can do mind-blowing stuff when you combine it with Teams meetings. If you turn on transcription and you turn on recording, you'll get a report at the end, and it's going to show you so much information. So I know I haven't been taking notes when I tell people I'm going to give them takeaways. That's because my Sales Copilot is doing all that for me. As soon as we finish this meeting, my Sales Copilot in Teams is going to pop up and say, oh, you told Joy you would get her this. You told Jim that you were going to do this. And I can click a button and create tasks for all of those items, and it just pushes into Dynamics. It's absolutely incredible. All right, I hope that answered your question. Dynamics app for Outlook. Oh, Nate, you're calling me out on Ignite. Ignite's happening right now. I'm not watching Ignite. I'm tuned into you all. I'm dedicated to you. I missed the Ignite announcement that recording transcription is not required. But hey, it's still really cool. All right, Dynamics app for Outlook is also configured at the environment level in your Power Platform Admin Center under Resources. So here's Dynamics app for Outlook. You have to have server-side sync configured in your environment. Your mailboxes have to be approved, tested, and enabled. And I do not mean your Outlook mailboxes. I mean your Dynamics 365 mailboxes. If we come back here, it's in this email section here. You can see email has mailboxes. Those are the mailboxes that have to be approved, tested, and enabled. And you have to add the security role called Dynamics 365 app for Outlook to your users in order to access it, which is really cool. Oh, I have a little tip here too. If you want to add a custom table to the Dynamics app for Outlook, you absolutely can. The only thing you have to do when you're creating your custom table or editing your custom table is check this little box here, create a new activity. That is the requirement to be able to track something and add it to the app for Outlook. So easy peasy, very cool things. Jessica, I see your question. I'm going to answer it in a moment. All right, now, cool. Dynamics app for Outlook has been around for years. Works great. Sales Copilot is the shiny new thing. Sales Copilot says they can do the same thing as Dynamics app for Outlook. Which should I use? I use both. I've been using the Sales Copilot since it was Viva Sales. I love it. I think it's incredible, but it's not comparable to the app for Outlook, and I'm going to show you why and how. So Jessica's asking about premium, which is licensing, which I do have here kind of in the middle. Copilot is included with your sales premium license. It is not included with sales professional license. It doesn't mean you can't add it on. I believe it's 20 per user per month, maybe 40 per user per month. I forget. Extra money, which essentially prices you to the point that you should just get premium anyway. So let's walk through what the feature comparison here is, and importantly, where you need to use the Dynamics app for Outlook, which is why you still have both, and where the Sales Copilot blows the app for Outlook out of the water. So first of all, with both of them, you can create and edit customer CRM data in Outlook. That's a given, right? You can connect to CRM from Outlook. We're here about Dynamics 365. However, if your organization also uses Salesforce for some business units, just know that your Sales Copilot can also be used in conjunction with Salesforce. You can create a contact from an email in both. However, has anyone tried to create a lead, an opportunity from an email in Sales Copilot? You can't. It's not functional today. I don't know when it will be functional. It has to be. I feel like that's core functionality. So if you get an email today, you want to create a new lead, opportunity, or even track it to anything other than a contact, you can't. So you would still use Dynamics app for Outlook, which is what I still use it for. Link messages, meetings, and appointments to any Dynamics table. Nope. You can only do that in sales tables in the Copilot. So another reason you would use the app for Outlook. If anyone on here is a Dynamics 365 for customer service person, you can't use Sales Copilot. I mean, you can to contacts, but that would be less ideal than the app for Outlook because you probably want to track it and convert it to cases. So sometime I'm sure there'll be parity. It's just not here yet. So use both. View information in context of an Outlook email or meeting, available by both. We talked about licensing, but this is where Sales Copilot is just incredible. Collaborate across teams, use AI to track positive and negative sentiment of conversations, give AI prompted actions, auto summary, create emails. I mean, the list just goes on and on about the incredible AI capabilities within Sales Copilot. It's incredible. I recommend you check out both, especially if you have a premium license. If you are using that professional license, you can't check out Sales Copilot. I'm sorry, but it's cool. Here's a tip. You can sync calendars. This is pretty neat. It's a preview item, but it's worth checking out. You can turn it on in your Teams integration details in your app settings. Meetings created in Dynamics would then automatically be added to calendars in both Outlook and Teams. Prerequisites here are server-side sync is turned on for email, appointments, contacts, and tasks. And just a known troubleshooting tip that came out of the Microsoft documentation, there can be a delay of up to 15 minutes before a new meeting appears on your synced calendars. So cool thing that you might want to check out. All right, PCF Controls. We're going to move back into some pretty visualizations. So these are different user interface controls, and they can be set at a couple different scopes. We can have the entity or the table level. It's called an entity scope, even though it's applied to a table. View level. So across the entire view, we want that visualization, that control to be placed, or column or field level controls. So the top is the maker portal and the bottom is the classic solution design. We're going to walk through what some of them are and how you can apply them. The entity or table and view level controls, there's 3 of them available to you out of the box. That's the Kanban control. Scope here is table, but only specific tables. It's only activity and only opportunity. And it must be applied in your classic solution designer. Editable grid is at the table level. And calendar version 2, version 1's been deprecated, can be table or view. So all of these require you to switch to classic. And I want to show you what they look like here too. So here's the Kanban control. It's pretty neat. You just take something and you click and drag it over to the appropriate area here. Like I said, it's only available on opportunity and activity. It's at the entity level. It is not supported on subgrids, and it's not supported on the Dynamics for phone mobile app, but it looks neat. Editable grid. Oops, sorry, I was trying to start this little thing. Editable grid is a really powerful tool. This will be turned on for all views on a specific table. So in this example, it's contacts. And what this does is it kind of unlocks everything. So if you have a user group who is huge on data entry and updating your data, this can be an awesome fit. But you should also know that it does come with some limitations. All of a sudden, any read-only fields are editable because this is unlocking everything. So I can just go around and make all my changes without clicking on a single record. So read-only fields are editable. You would fix that with JavaScript. So just phone up your handy developer and ask them to write you some JavaScript to fix that. And there are some limitations on field types. So if you're interested, you can check that out. It's either you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, editable grid's going to change our life. I have fixed a major problem. Or you're like, oh, hell no, I'm not giving that level of access. You're usually one camp or the other. Calendar control. Ken, you're looking for calendar control version 2. This is an excellent tool to aiding user adoption. I personally try to turn this on for all of my customers on your activities because why would you want to look at a grid of activities when you can look at it on calendar? I think it's really cool. And this could be at the table or entity level or the view level. On all of these, there's some additional configurations. So the screenshot at the bottom is kind of showing you what that needs to be. What is the start date? What text do I use to show up on the calendar? What is the end date? So that's what this one is. And field controls. So these are individual fields. Most of these you can do at the Maker portal. A couple you can't. Again, these are the out-of-the-box ones. There are many you can do, and I hope I have a slide about that next. But we have a toggle control. I like doing these anytime I have my choice fields, my yes/no fields. So it's just simply adding a toggle. If you have a mobile workforce that's out there using your CRM, this is awesome because now it's just touching it and sliding it from yes to no. It's just nice to break up all the drop downs. Star rating is cool. It's simply clicking the number of stars. It's anywhere from 1 to 5. I don't know why you would use 1 star, but it could be 1. It could be anywhere from 1 to 5. Autocomplete is pretty neat. You could, oh, I can't really see what that is. So that's spouse. It's doing a lookup to the contact table, and I could start typing a few letters and it'll pop up other people, has contacts, and then I can select it there. That is only in Classic. Input mask is a way to formulate your data to be in a specific view. So this is taking all of my phone numbers and formatting it to be like the business phone here. That does take away click-to-call functionality, so just beware. Input masks, if you put them on a number, will strip out that native click-to-call functionality. So that might be a big no. Or if you're not using click-to-call, that might be a big yay, because now you have some data consistency there. Number input, that's just a different way to visualize your numbers here. All right, Power Automate. Power Automate is so stinking cool. Power Automate is a way for you to extend your CRM way beyond sales, customer service, and marketing. It currently has over 1,000 different sources and systems that you can connect to. So we could spend the next 4 hours talking about Power Automate, but we only have 15 minutes and we have more. So I'm going to give you a really quick Power Automate 101 if you're new. Power Automate can feel a little overwhelming when we're starting to get into it, like move from traditional CRM System Administrator tasks to Power Automate because the capabilities are so large. But Power Automate 101, you will create a flow in Power Automate. You might have heard that name. So a flow is an automation. It starts with a trigger. A trigger is like the conditionals we've been doing. So a trigger is what starts this automation. I have to kind of figure out what do I want to happen to make all these other things happen. An action is the thing that is automated once a condition meets the trigger. And you can have one action on a flow. You can have 15 actions on a flow. It doesn't matter. And finally, a connector. A connector is a wrapper around an API that allows systems to talk to Power Automate using configuration, which is really cool. So on the screenshot on the right is just a really simple little, if you're having problems with users running flows and you're seeing permission issues, make sure this little green bubble is turned on, which is run flows. It's on the customization tab. There are a lot of different types of flows within Power Automate. Templates are a great way to get started. Templates are defined. They've already got their triggers and actions. You might just have to update some things to test drive them and see how they work. An automated cloud flow, it will trigger on an event and perform your actions automatically. Instant cloud flow is started by a user clicking a button. A scheduled cloud flow is a flow that's scheduled for a specific date and time, and then it will run. Desktop flow is super complicated, but I just heard they're having a Copilot to uncomplicate that. So hopefully those will get better. And business process flows, that's the same thing we've seen in Dynamic CRM for a long time. A couple use cases just to get you started to think about how you might be able to use it. SharePoint, you can update SharePoint data from things in Dynamics 365. Email, when a record is updated with specific information, I want to send an email out. AI Builder, if you're using that. I want to create a contact in Dynamics from a business card using the AI Builder on a button click. Survey, when a case is closed as resolved, I want to send a customer satisfaction survey. SMS, I want to send a text message using Twilio to a marketing list that I've created in Dynamics. Approvals, these are often the first foray into Power Automate from our CRM users because everyone has a process that needs approval that you can automate. So the example I have here, request approval for a quote in Dynamics 365. SharePoint again, when an object is created in Dynamics 365, maybe I want to create a SharePoint list item for another group in my organization. Web form, when someone fills out a web form on my website, create a lead and push it to Dynamics for sales. These are just a couple ideas to get you started, but the possibilities really are endless. I have a Flow 101 series I did man, a year ago on my blog, but there's a lot of great information in there. I write and talk a lot about Power Automate. So you are welcome to tune in to crmheidi.com, email me for these slides, and you'll have all these links. Resources. XRM Toolbox. If you are here, you are most likely a system administrator or a system customizer. If you have not discovered the XRM Toolbox, you need to download this today. It is free. It is an amazing community resource with a ton of useful tools. I'm going to give you a couple that I use a lot. So go to xrmtoolbox.com if you don't have it today. Download this, install it, and connect your instance. You're going to want to connect your sandbox to test everything and your production to push it to live. 6 excellent. You know what? I have 7 because I have a new favorite XRM Toolbox tool, which is the Fetch XML Builder tool. I've been diving a little deeper into Power Automate, and I've found myself into a world of OData queries that I find hard to navigate. And the Fetch XML Builder has changed my life, and it will change yours too. It allows some less technical people to still be dangerous with intermediate level Power Automate flows. So that's cool. But things that you should check out for general day-to-day system administrator. First of all, user settings utility. This single tool saved me incredible amounts of time when I was a system administrator with 200 plus users. I used to get phone calls from people like, hey, I only see 25 things in my CRM. Why can't I see more? I was like, okay, click on the gear icon, go to personal record, personal views, personal settings, change the settings. So you can do this for them. You can manage all of the personal settings for any of your users. Woo, it's great. Next, Attribute Usage Inspector. This will show you how often a field or column is used on any table. So if you're thinking about removing a field, if your manager comes to you and says, oh, get rid of this tab, nobody's using it, run this report to see if anyone is using it first instead of doing a lot of queries on there. And then you'll be able to see what fields people are and are not using it. You can also use that to guide your additional future training, right? If nobody's entering data on X, Y, and Z field, maybe throw together a quick 30-minute lunch and learn to remind them how to use it. Bulk delete tool. So you can see I have this little call out here. With great power comes great responsibility. Beware. So bulk delete tool will delete records in bulk. Why do I bring this up? Because of one of the questions we talked about earlier, storage, right? If you need to remove old data, maybe old system jobs that completed over a year ago, that's just taking up storage space that you don't need. Whatever it is, this will bulk delete it so you don't have to sit there and do it 250 at a time and just hit delete. Select all, delete, select all, delete. Deduplicator, that will help you find duplicate records. So that's a little tool that you can use that's a little bit better than the out-of-the-box duplicate detection stuff. So you can check that out. Remember I told you in the columns that you can create a column and then you're stuck with that column type? Kind of. Well, this is the kind of. Be careful with this. Attribute bulk updater, you can change a field type. Be careful. When you change a field type, it removes the historic data. If you're going to change a field type and it's already been there for a while, just know you're going to lose that data. You should have a strategy if you need to maintain it. If you've created a new view or new field and you accidentally picked the wrong kind, I have done this. I've accidentally selected the wrong kind for a handful of fields, but it was a new implementation. So I ran the attribute bulk updater and I changed the type and it was wonderful. Just again, be careful if you're going to do anything. And finally, personal user views migration. Have you ever had a user leave the company and you're like, oh, shoot, they owned that dashboard that Sam and Sally and Joe are all using, and now it's gone because they're gone. Well, don't worry. Now you just need this tool. Take the personal user views migration. You can reassign, copy, and delete personal views, charts, or dashboards. Ooh. There are a lot more tools. Those are just ones that I think could be really useful as a system administrator. If you have others you use, pop them in the chat and let people know. So I have links on all these. Again, reach out to me if you are interested in getting a copy of this, because these are all links you can just click on. These are some Microsoft learning paths, which I think can be helpful if you want to learn more. I do see a question, if there's an easy way to translate column description. Easy Translator tool. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. So Easy Translator is another tool where you can translate column display name descriptions, but enable those languages. Awesome. All right, so here are a couple learn items if you're interested. Power Platform fundamentals. Again, anything in Dynamics 365 is Power Platform. We got kind of lucky, right? We're grandfathered and grandmothered in to using Power Apps because Dynamics is a Power App. So we already know a lot about Power Platform by default because we know a lot about CRM. If you want to learn a little bit more about the other areas of Power Platform, this is a great spot to start. Then I have the fundamentals course for each of the different areas, customer service, sales, and marketing, which has been renamed now, customer insights journeys, and how to configure forms, charts, and dashboards in model-driven apps. Microsoft documentation, which is also learn, but these are kind of like the how-tos instead of the learning paths, which are going to be kind of more designed for you to skill up, take quizzes, do labs, things like that. Upcoming release notes. These are always something you should check out. I've got a YouTube series that I do with fellow MVPs Malcolm McCulley and Kylie Kaiser, where we'll go through the release notes and we'll just highlight things that we like. So you can check those out. They're on my YouTube channel. There's a ton of them. We've done everything but field service in here. But it's really neat to check out what's coming. In addition, you can check out the release planner. So if you want to keep track of specific items that only you are interested in, you can create your own release plan and just keep track of it all here. Other great community resources. I have Dynamics communities, user group content, local user groups. Like I said, I am in charge of the Philadelphia area user group, so that's a link to some of them. If you haven't subscribed to the Power Platform weekly newsletter, I highly encourage you to do it. Remember, Dynamics is a Power App. Dynamics is Power Platform. So don't ignore the Power Platform stuff just because we're CRM. They're one and the same. So subscribe to Power Platform Weekly. They highlight amazing content from Microsoft, from MVPs, from community, everything that's going on, they're going to highlight. PCF Gallery, I didn't even talk to you about this. The area we were talking about with the UI controls, those are the out-of-the-box ones that you can apply within Power Apps. Oh my gosh, I have 4 minutes. We're in the end. It's fine. But PCF.gallery is another resource that the community will just give you a ton of stuff. Let me see if I can watch that. And Connector Review, shameless plug. I built Connector Review with Nick Hance, my husband. So let's go to PCF.gallery first. And I'm going to show you both of these amazing resources. Again, free community resources, both of them. So PCF Gallery, there are categories here if you're looking for something specific, like a barcode solution. But what you can do is start to check out, like here's multi-select lookup, which is really neat. There's a lot of stuff. You can go to search, and there are checkboxes here. Remember, we're using a model-driven app, so you can check this box made for model-driven apps. Hit search, and there are 406 controls for free that are additional visualizations for you. So like action button, you can see what this is and see if it's something that you're interested in. The other one I want to show you is connectorreview.com. Again, this is something that Nick and I worked really hard on. And the goal here is to find Power Automate connectors for specific use cases. We created this because it didn't exist. So if I was looking for like marketing automation, I can just check out marketing automation. And here are 19 connectors that have something to do with marketing automation. And I like MailChimp. All right, let's check out MailChimp. MailChimp has 2 triggers, so I can start my automation here and 11 actions, and I can learn more about it. So I think that's cool too. Oh, we got it. There's less than 2 minutes left. Does anyone have questions? Thank you. I know this was fast-paced. I know this was a ton of content. I hope it was helpful and useful. I'm sorry if you were at Summit and I missed you, but I hope this is a good backup. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to take a sip of my C while I check. 10 out of 10. Thanks, Nate. I'm going to type in my email address again. Oh, Erica just asked for my email address. I am most happy to share these with you. Again, my whole intention here is to skill other people up, just to understand what you can do yourself. If you want to be less reliant on a partner to implement changes on your own, you can do it. If you work for a partner and you want to learn how to skill up and do some of these things a little bit better on yourself, I hope it's helpful. Oh, YouTube. You got it. YouTube.com/CRM Heidi. I have a blog too. Honestly, I've been neglecting it lately, but it's crmheidi.com. I'll try to add more stuff. Oh my gosh, look what I put up here. All right, if you need calculated fields in Dataverse, that's the last thing that I put here. Here you go. You can learn more about calculated fields. Like I said, I have a lot of information here that's going to get you a deep dive. This is the full walkthrough how-to with screenshots and a video. Is this presentation available? Absolutely. It's been recorded this whole time. I will throw it up on my YouTube channel too, and I will see if Dynamics Communities wants to stream it too, because this was supposed to be for Summit. Oh, thank you all so much. You're making me feel so good. And thank you. I worked so hard on this presentation and I was so sad to not do it. So thank you for giving me a place to share the information, to present it. Again, I hope it was helpful. And thank you, everybody. If you're in the United States, have a very happy Thanksgiving next week. If you're not, have a very wonderful weekend and enjoy your next week. I'm a vegetarian, so I won't be partaking in turkey, but I hope those of you that do enjoy it. My tofurkey will be fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.